Radical.
Welcome to Flea Market Stories, documenting one man's journey into the world of flea marketing. You know, I was going to go something for about maybe 4 or 5 minutes today, something really quick to just kind of upload to the channel before I get some free time in a day or two to actually have a lot of uploads back to back. That's usually how things are going to be on the channel going forward for the initial future is after the weekend. Until things kind of change with my main work schedule, I'm not going to be able to upload until, a little bit after the weekend, because I go from flea marketing right into my main job, and then around maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, something, I have some free time to actually upload. Until then, though, the longer upload is going to have short uploads like this. This is kind of a pre-upload to an upload coming later, which is me just collecting data from my sales. I'm going through my book of several years worth of data to actually figure out where I should tier and where my focus should be on the four legs of the table, the 4 pillars of what I base my media business on. My business, if you don't know, at the flea market is based on media sales. But I don't know if I've ever went into great detail about what I sell, these 4 main things I sell. The 4 main things I sell in my store are books, movies, music, and games. When it comes to the books, that can encompass anything in book format. Mostly it's magazines and comic books, but sometimes it can be regular books, self-help Dr. Phil books. I'm just kidding. There's no Dr. Phil there. But I do have some books that look like they came out of Lowe's, helping people with their housing and the trim work and all kind of stuff like that. Gardening books can even be, it can be any kind of books under the sun. Regular books, comic books, magazines, specialty, little mini pamphlet books, game strategy guides. So there can be like a little bit of bleeding from the music and the games, because I have rock books, Guns N' Roses. They got like Coldplay, Barbra Streisand, Willie Nelson, all kind of specialty collectors books. So books, that's definitely signifies itself as one strong pillar of the 4 pillars of the store. Moving on from that, we have games, which I've probably talked about the games in great detail in flea marketing and had like little stories based on games and systems. Now, see, the weird thing here is it can encompass systems also, because that kind of falls into the category of the games. How can it not? So it probably at times is going to be the biggest physical space at the flea market between the systems, the displays that go with the systems. So it probably, most of everything, it takes the most time and the most effort to get the game stuff right, because that's the only thing where I literally put a game display up. So physically, I don't think there's ever a time where games have not taken up physically the most space if you add in the systems. So definitely the games can encompass mostly PlayStation to Xbox, sometimes Nintendo, and definitely systems. That can encompass also the mini systems like mini Nintendos, the knockoffs and what have you. And so games definitely. Like books, it earns a spot on the 4 pillars easily. And then after that, we have movies, which it can encompass Blu-rays, DVDs. Pretty much all the movies, it is in one section. The way my store is segmented out is I have movies and then games and then music and the books. And they're all, for the most part, separate. Now, movies is also usually physically a big section. And the Blu-rays I used to have separated, but now I just do alphabetical. And what can you say about movies that hasn't been said? Most everyone watches movies at some point in time. Most everybody does. So definitely that earns its spot along the 4 pillars. Sometimes I have movie displays also where I have a TV playing a specific movie. The problem with that is, if a movie is an hour and a half to 2 hours long, unless you're playing some special extra scenes footage, then you're kind of giving away a little bit of the movie. I think that's mostly good for playing the first 30 minutes of a movie if it's a over 2 hour long movie. Because you gotta think, unless someone is there just sitting and watching the movie, then they're gonna think about possibly buying that movie. And when it comes to acquisitions, movies are probably the easiest to acquire out of the four things, money wise. These days, a lot of people that stream, they, well, I'm not going to get into this great detail because it's just, like I said, a pre upload, but on my follow up upload where we actually have the definitive ranking, I'll actually go into the details of why I ranked everything as such. Lastly, we have music CDs. And kind of like the movies, everyone listens to music CDs. I mean, everyone listens to music, and about everybody has something to play their music CDs on. About everybody does. And the music is about, I would say, other than books, because when it comes to books, all you got to do is you got to check the book to make sure there's no ripped pages. That's all you got to do. Other than that, maybe checking the book to see if there's any nudity. When it comes to the music CDs, you just got to be on the lookout to see if there's a lot of extra expletive language, but sometimes it has the actual warnings. In the background, what I'm doing mostly right now in the background when I record these is listening to music CDs. So if you notice something like a Celine Dion, it doesn't mean I'm a huge fan of Celine Dion in the background. It means that that's usually like a downtime thing. When it comes to games, you got to check and make sure the games are installed perfect. When it comes to the movies, you got to watch them all the way through. But when it comes to music CDs, literally all you have to do is take some solution, clean off the disc, put it in a player in the background, go about your day, and listen to them one after one after one. So like I said, everyone mostly listens to music of some type. I know nowadays CDs aren't as popular as they used to be, but people still buy a whole lot of CDs from me. So it's still very viable. It is definitely one of the four strong pillars. Why do I make the store to be mostly four pillars of media? Well, it's a theme. My store is a media themed store. I think it's very important if you have a store to actually stick with a theme. And there's also some bleed over. Maybe I could come up with a better term. That seems kind of gruesome, some bleed over. There's some rollover, I guess, from things like, well, Batman. There might be a day where someone comes by and they buy a Batman movie, a Batman video game, a Batman music CD soundtrack from one of the movies, and then a Batman collector's book. I don't know if that's ever happened where people have run the gamut, but it's very possible. I recently acquired a Spider-Man 2 music CD. I have the Spider-Man 2 movie, maybe a Spider-Man game, Spider-Man book. Somebody that's a fan of Spider-Man is going to want to grab all the Spider-Man media that they can at a place that they like. So, like I said, this is a pre-upload for a longer upload coming down the line, maybe a little later this week, about me actually ranking the tiers definitively